Didn't even change the banner yet. Let's see here. Running a couple minutes late. Ran all the way back down the stairs. That was we'll go ahead and change my banner so it matches before we get any further. Welcome to number 280. Wow, I've been doing this a while. That is wild. So now we got this sorted out. I think we're live. We can go to the comments here. Look at this. Some of us lurk and have it open since it's created. Yes. Made the final countdown. Hit that like button. Cool. And I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. Is Tom having technical issues? Call solar system support. Yes, in a way. I don't know about really technical issues. One of my employees had come by and needed to pick up a few things, drop off a few things, and we started talking. First time he'd been over my house, so I gave him the nickel tour of the new studio and what I got going on here at my home office. Ooh, this is a really solid question. I really like this question. It's so relevant. Let me think here. How could we do this? If we hit the share button over here and we hit share screen and we click the Chrome tab. Oh, look at this video that I'm uploading. What would this video be titled? Help me write the title for this. VMware. Oh, got to ask it as a question. XCP-NG, a good VMware alternative. How's that for titling? I'll let you guys pick the title because it's not published yet. By the way, it's close. If you see on the bottom here, processing HD version. Actually, I think I gotta hide this, but yes, the video is actually uploaded. I just need a thumbnail on there because thumbnail. So, but yeah, I'm absolutely going to be discussing this, and I got to put in a few extra things like the articles in here. It's worth discussing right now. Why not? And let me drag this because I have timestamps. There's not too many timestamps. There's just a few. So you guys can watch how it gets made. I literally do this. There's some timestamps. We have a series of things that get put into the video at the top, which is going to be the articles I referenced. Comparison PDF. Articles from the register. We can actually read these real quick because they're solid. They're solid for sure. Let's go ahead and stop sharing and share the other tab, because why not talk about it while we're doing all this, right? So if I could nail down hardware to go with it, I would hop on XCP VMware sooner. Absolutely. VMware goodbye. Yeah. I think my previous humor, but Tom, you missed the C and XCP-NG. I think I got it. I think you got it. So is a good replacement. So is it replacement or alternative? Is XCP-NG a good VMware alternative, good replace, or a good replacement for VMware? And one of those works. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one's best. Yeah, Marcus, no pizza right now? Marcus is buffering. Nonetheless, the thing I was going to talk about here, now that we have share a screen, Chrome tab, Share. There we go. Broadcom's stated strategy is very simple. Focus on 600 customers who will struggle to change suppliers, reap vastly lower sales and marketing costs by focusing on that small tool, trim R&D by not thinking about the needs of other customers, and who can be let go if necessary without much harm to their bottom line. So, yes, not only are they going to be focusing on them, and I like this right here. Kraus told investors the company actively pursues 600 customers, the top three tiers of the pyramid above, because they are often in highly regulated industries, therefore risk averse and unlikely to change suppliers. So, if you are among the 600, you may not be the happiest because you're going, this is really hard to change. I guess I'm just going to take it. If you're among the thousands of VMware customers, you're just going to go, ouch, should I be looking for an alternative? So, yeah. Sadly, too many are tied to Veeam, which supports neither XCP-NG or Proxmox. There's backups inside of there, so you can actually solve two problems. You can your total cost of ownership can go down because now you're not paying for Veeam and you're not paying for VMware. I mean, there's opportunity right there. When you're not paying for either one of those things, life gets easy, right? Then I mentioned that in the video. The video's not too long. No, it's broken. Well, I got to re-render that video because for reasons unknown, it is not the right length. Oh, I know what happened. Stupid DaVinci. I'll do that right now while I'm waiting. The DaVinci Resolve tool decided to do something else. So we can open up DaVinci. I just got to hit render on it again. I see what it did now. It didn't render the entire video. And I don't know why. So, but I do know how to fix that. Single clip, individual clip. H.265. Render entire timeline. Sometimes I accidentally click on things and it does not do what I expect it to do. Add new job. There we go. Add to render queue and render all. All right. That's back to rendering. uh, You started your IT journey because of your channel, learned XCP-NG from you and RTFM, got a new position at work, and they use VMware. You know, the important thing to learn, though, is that the knowledge you have for how virtualization works is a transferable knowledge set because it's like this over time. Because I understand the fundamentals of a lot of things work, it has allowed me to, over the years, pivot between different virtualization platforms. I've even worked with VMware. Matter of fact, in the earlier days, I had set up some VMware systems and I'm familiar with them. Probably not the most recent versions, and usually I'm only ever dealing with older versions, but the concepts in virtualization and the architecture behind it, once that's in your head and you understand those fundamentals, you can pivot between different platforms and understand how they work and at least how they're supposed to work. And Hyper-V might be a little bit of an exception because, yeah. Oh, have Tom fixed the video? I don't know. Can I fix it in real time? Let's find out, folks. I see what you're saying that I forgot something. Let's see what happens if you fix it while it's live. We're going to find out, right? You guys are seeing what I see now. So edit X. I actually hear him coming down. There, I think it's fixed now.
You're missing a C.
Yes. You guys got my son to come in here and let me know. Yeah, if for those of you who didn't notice, he just popped in the background real quick. In before Tom breaks something. And that's how I got the job, knowing the foundation XCP, bringing them to VMware. Yeah, once you understand it updated on your laptop in real time. Well, that's cool. That's definitely neat. Once you get these concepts of virtualization, though, that's where things it just makes it easier for you. Once you this goes through a lot of tech. It's not like when you learn Linux, learning every distribution and every nuance, not necessarily practical, but once you take to learn a distribution, you can generally take that knowledge and port it over to other distributions and just have to learn the nuance of like their package management and where they may have a few different things set up. And the same concepts, if you understand high levels of how programming languages work, you just have to learn the nuances of the different languages, the different way they may implement something, but the concepts in general are the same. Programming may be a little bit more abstract for that because if you understand a few different languages and someone throws assembly at you, now you're talking about a much different challenge. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, we're talking about this. So let me see if I keep it this zoomed in. I can share it because I think that makes it easy enough to see. But we are playing with some new servers we got in. Um, I'm getting ready. I need to do a whole new getting started with this. Getting started with Xen Orchestra, getting started with XCP-NG. I'm going to do it all as one big video. But I've got a building open source lab storage, but I want to talk about this at some point too. This is our lab R630 that runs NVMe ZFS on here. So that's you know, it's a pretty cool thing. And there's going to be a lot of questions about how that works because it does support ZFS, but it's not too tricky to set up. It's not right now on their roadmap to have drive management inside of the UI. And I know that's going to be some of the things people ask because there's ways you can monitor the drives. There's just not any current way. It's kind of deep on their roadmap. They do have some feature requests for it, but it'll be stuff I'll be talking about when it comes to my videos all around XCP-NG. But let's do this. And now well, I can leave it on this pool. It doesn't really matter. But playing around in the lab, I do have a few things I've noticed. And I think it has to do with this older Dell. And I have another one coming in, a new generation Dell versus the old generation Dell. And I'm going to cover some of the differences. But one of the problems I've run into is the drive speed of these. So I think, no, that won't work at all. That's going to be terrible. So let me.
Both of you are good.
Oh.
Oh, my dad's doing both Thursday.
Okay.
Let me get rid of. There we go. All right. I have to stop this thing from running. Zoom it out a little bit, I think. Hold on. There we go. All right, cool. Got that fixed. But I'll be talking about some of the benchmarks on there between the different versions of the Dell servers. That's going to be kind of on my list. I know a lot of people want to talk about this lab. Not everybody has the resources to buy it and try it. So I want to buy it and try it for you and explain, the pros and cons of some of the different servers. That's going to be some of the things I'm going to be covering on there. Just a thought, maybe a broken up series of videos regarding Xen and XP, similar to how Chris Crosstalk did for PBX. Here's the problem. And I don't know what the right answer is, but if you go onto YouTube and you look up something, I'm going to pipe in and a good example of this. So the top videos that I put in Python for beginners, because I know it's an easy one that I can show an example of. If you look at the top viewed videos on this, they're not people who broke them down into series. They're the people who have a lot of views for a 5-hour, a 6-hour video. You know what I mean? When you start looking at these people who broke them down into really long videos, like this one in particular, 33 million views, and it seems to do better as a longer video. Now I time index everything, and so far any of my testing, if you look at my Sense getting started type of videos, like this one here, my long hour-and-a-half video, 802,000, but none of my small ones have near as many views. Down here. So that's there's a pretty big difference between them on that. So that's one of the reasons I do it that way. What up, Marcus?
Walk into the shop.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, close the front door behind you. So the longer videos seem to do better based on everything I can tell. We can actually, whoops. You can watch, he should walk out. My son just was down here and he'll walk out on the porch in just a minute. So we can actually see it all happen. Are laptop chips like an i5 6300 worth it for Windows, VMs? RAM seems to be more important. 32 gig is almost a must for a few Windows VMs. Yeah, that's one thing for sure. Windows is memory hungry and IO intensive. So make sure you have enough IO and memory to take care of Windows. It's not as much the processors as those two things. Oh, good. He's even locking the door. R640 is what I'm getting. I don't know if we're getting an R650 or not. That's amazing. Well, we may get one for a client. If we get one for a client, we have a client that might be ordering some new hardware. And not all hardware passes through our office, but this hardware might. So if we get some hardware that passes through our office, we'll do a test on it. Hello to the bearded IT dad. Who doesn't want to listen to me for multiple hours? My children do not, and my wife does not. Those 2.5-hour videos without index are horrible. Yeah, the ones with index are definitely there. Are R710s okay for home lab hypervisor training? I would say for learning, absolutely. The R710 is still pretty good. It's really cheap to get an R710 right now. The price is really fallen on those to the point where shipping almost costs as much as them. So yeah, definitely R710s I'd put on the list. I got to think about it. I wonder if we still have any at my office. Maybe we'll give some away. I don't want to ship them. It'll be for local people. Maybe I'll just show an ad together for them. We retired those. I mean, we had some, and my friend, we retired them a while ago. I gave them to my friend. He got new servers at his house, so he gave them back to me. And I don't know what happened to him after that. So, that seriously brought up his Chris's videos were great for my taste in PBX setup as I get distracted easily. Yeah. It's also the commitment time when people see a long video, but because I time index everything and have it all organized, people can jump to just the section that matters to them. Do I still use the FX8320 as my home server? No. Wait, let me think. No, I don't. That video is from a few years ago, and I do not have that at my home server anymore. This is the one challenge you run into, and it's going to come down to where you live and how much does electricity cost. As you go up to the newer generation servers, each newer generation uses less power. Using less power may be a really big deal to you if you have a higher cost of electricity or a problem moving the heat away that they may generate. That being said, it does vary by where you live. We have relatively inexpensive power here in Michigan. A lot of other states, it varies. I know people, I think it's in Germany, have mentioned before that it is substantially higher there. I don't know this. I'm saying what people have commented on, and that power costs can mean what you saved on the server, you pay over time substantially more. So you have to just do the math that if a server is going to idle at 120 watts or wherever that idle may be, depending on the configuration of the server, what is the cost of 120 watts consistently on your bill? And is that worth it? If it costs you, like me, a small amount of money, no big deal. If it's costing you a significant amount of money, suddenly it's a big deal and you have to take other things into consideration. I don't really think you need SR, IOV, and VTD for experiments, honestly, unless you are trying to get the most performance out of it. And that's usually not the case if you're trying to learn virtualization. It starts with what you're trying to learn. What's your goal? If your goal is to learn some of the things that may require SR, IOV, then yeah, they're a bad choice. If that's not your goal, you're trying to learn Linux, learn virtualization, build a cluster of servers, do some automation with Ansible and Terraform and do some deployment, then R710 will work perfectly fine. A Raspberry Pi, as Jeff Geerling has so many projects around them, works quite well for doing and learning a lot of extensive things that can be completely translated to the bigger world of technology. So it comes down with, if when the old hardware, or even using basic home lab hardware that's just retired computers, that works too. Off topic, I had to RMA my home lab, UniFi and VR, but they are backordered. Yeah, that's an issue. What do you recommend for a PF Sense box right now? Single home, DMZ, some light applications. I really like the 4100. It all depends on, I like the 2100. I like all the Netgate boxes, but I don't know how fast your internet is. The Netgate 2100 is going to start to struggle at 1 gig internet, depending on what you're running on it. The 4100 works perfectly fine with it. So I'm using a couple Intel NUCs 6s for my Hyper-Vs. Sorry about Hyper-V, but Hyper-V is just it's got to be my least favorite hypervisor of any of them. Is what it is if you're using it. Some people are really embedded with it, but yeah. Uh, and this is another option. Make it 2 projects in one. Build your home lab, power it with solar. So then it's 2 projects in one. You get the hands-on experience of building your own solar system and energy support system around it. That's a great lab to learn in, and then use it to build out your off-grid system and not have it pull from the power grid for that expensiveness when you got to run all these servers. Greetings from the Netherlands. Absolutely. Yeah, Hyper-V embedded, entrenched. Yeah, some people are, is what it is. It's not the best performing system. That's come up too. Wendell's talked about it. The way Microsoft handles their storage spaces is just slow. And then they've had updates that send Hyper-V into its boot loop problems. I don't know. I'm not impressed with it at all. It's built on Microsoft. So, Proxmox and XCP-NG are 2 good alternatives. I'm partial to XCP-NG. It seems to scale better than Proxmox from anyone I've talked to, but I'm not enough of a Proxmox expert to understand the problems and troubleshoot them. I know we've migrated people away from Proxmox because they couldn't get the scalability they were looking for out of the system and the performance. But I did not take the time to tune said system for them because I'm not a Proxmox expert. The people we've consulted with are really happy that they're on XCP-NG, but that's a platform we know. The Netgate box required 10 gig internet, and I would like a rack mount. They have them. They have rack mountable ones. They now have a rack mount for the 6100. So if you want 10 gig, the 6100 does offer 10 gig. Yes, I work hand in hand with TrueNAS because we're an official reseller of the product. So we work with them, and so some of my videos are in there. What do I use for video editing? I am using DaVinci Resolve. Just got a box with a 2.5 gig ports, a J1245 pump to see how well it works. Serve the Home just did a review on those. They were pretty positive on them. They don't seem like bad boxes. They're great for home lab. I don't think I really want them in a business because they're just too inconsistent. Where was those ones they had? I'll throw them up on the screen here. So they did a review of these, but they're, just kind of a inconsistent because they have so many different names. I manage a couple a couple of Hyper-V clusters, and the licensing is a little bit better than VMware. The bar is pretty low there, but that's interesting that Microsoft has anything that's better licensed than VMware, but because the two of them are usually in competition to make that as a problem. Is AES-NI needed to run a pfSense box? No, it is not needed. OpenVPN can use AES, but OpenVPN can use other protocols as well. And it's not needed. It's just for acceleration. There's not a dramatic difference between the two of them, accelerator on. So it's not like night and day. I set some R610s. I put them to use. Got a new R series. I can practice migration, retire the old. Yeah, it's great learning you can do with a lot of those. Live in an area of the U.S. that has one of the cheapest power averages in the U.S. That's awesome. Any harm in handing Windows VMs with a U disk? Yes, I just limit the system. I limit it to 2 terabytes. I'm wondering if there's a good reason for this limit. It's an architectural design of the way, it's the way the VMs are limited in terms of how big you can make a disk. It's an architectural limit from the early days. It's no one's bothered to rewrite it because it's just not a great idea from a design standpoint to have oversized disks. You shouldn't even have them set to 2 TB. Generally, we build them way smaller than that because you should not be building your storage to tie it to the hypervisor like that. That's just not how it's supposed to work. I probably should just do a video because this is a confusing topic, and unfortunately we unravel messes made out in the field by people. We have another client. We have to undo the previous technical person who thought to make the VMware setup with all these large drives. And we're like, no, this is not the design architecture. You should build your Windows VMs, build your application in different locations, as Microsoft usually does when these are set up, and you set up a couple small drives for it. But then all your data, the larger part, goes somewhere else. Present an iSCSI to the Windows machine would be an ideal way to do that. That way you have separated all these things. That way when you do backups or snapshots of your VM, you're not trying to move some massive piece of data. That's just not a good way to do it. Best pfSense router for 10 gig internet home, Dell R620s. Yeah, you can do those too. I mean, that's kind of a overkill. You can build a 10 gig system for probably, I guess it depends on how cheap you can find one of those. You can build something less power hungry. Proxmox to scale has multiple Proxmox VE cluster with a lot of VM and cluster and more than 10 nodes, no problem at all. It was the number of VMs the person had. They could not get the performance. They had a paid subscription to Proxmox, and they were super unhappy with their support. We had one person who had a large infrastructure and was really happy to get off of Proxmox. I don't know. I was not there to solve that problem. I was there to consult with their new system that was all XCP-NG and help them do some migration. So I don't really know. I've had other people tell me, but only one that we actually engaged with that was at scale. So, but I don't have anything against Proxmox. If you want to use it, go for it. My interest in using it, it doesn't have all the features XCP-NG is. So to me, it's a downgrade in terms of features. It does have a feature that will make people happy, though. Proxmox has different container management that is not baked into XCP-NG, which is fine. I don't really care as much about managing containers through XCP-NG, so it's not a use case for me. But all the other features that XCP-NG has, I like better than the way it's implemented in Proxmox. Therefore, I don't ever plan to switch. Analyzing a Wireshark, I realize there are many ARP frames that ask for the origin of my pfSense IP. Do you have any solution to fix it? There's not a solution to fix that. That's just how the networking devices work. Any plans to create a video sampling migration of VMware to XCP? I've talked about migrations in other videos, and if you use, I think I have it. Do this one here. This works. I was going to share my screen. If you type in Clonezilla, that's an easy example. This is a destination, a whole video talking about doing migrations. It doesn't really matter to and fro. I did it with Clonezilla. It's virtual machine or physical machine migration with Clonezilla. And you can migrate from one place to another, whether it's Hyper-V, VMware, Proxmox, or bare metal. You can just use your cloning software to move the VM over from one platform to another. The other option is in Xen Orchestra. You can also you can do imports of VMs. So actually, I like that. I like the fact that you can even import via there. So you can drop in OVA or XVA file. So drop OVA or XVA files here to import virtual machines. So that's another way to do it. You just drag them in there. So you can bring in OVAs. If you can get an OVA out of there, you can migrate it in. It's not much of a video to talk about it. I mean, the only thing I'd mention, and it may be obvious, but maybe not to some, remove the VMware tools prior to doing the export. If not, you'll have a bunch of errors and may or may not be bootable because the VMware tools will pause looking for the VMware host. So remove VMware tools before you do it. Have you seen a difference in my SQL ports between different hypervisors? No, I have not. For the most part, and I've read a lot of studies on this. Hypervisors in general, when it comes to CPU usage, there's not a big difference between them. They both come really close to bare metal. Not the same, but there is a really close to, provided you have everything set up properly, blah, blah, blah. But there's a reasonably close to bare metal you get. There's not a massive loss of processor when you virtualize things. That part, the companies get right. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, let me reply. My other server's on its way. We got the 6:30 testing it. Now you're watching me reply in real time. We don't need any Rails. Yes, if we needed Rails for it, not for these particular servers. Rails might be nice. All right, cool. Send. All right, cool. That person's taken care of. That's the more servers, real time. You're watching me work because I like to respond to people because they want to ship them, and I'd love it if they shipped it today. That way, it'll be there next week. All right. Can TrueNAS host replicate 2 servers instead of just one? I don't understand that as a question. Is it safe to run a NAS on XCP-NG? I don't recommend virtualizing NAS. Doesn't mean you can't. I think I have a video on that. Let me look. I probably have a video where I talk about it. There's ways to do it. It's just I probably repeatedly tell you not to though. Actually, I think it would be, hey, look, how to set up TrueNAS Core as a VM in XCP-NG. So I even have an entire video on this topic. So you can, I say in that video too, I don't recommend it. Finally, I see import TrueNAS from Hyper-V to a physical machine. It's just not my preferred way to do it when it comes to NAS. And there's always someone who say, but mine works fine. And I also have a ticket open for someone who just lost all their data. Another one. I, you know, it's the use at your own risk type thing. They had a really beefy machine, so they wanted to virtualize it and pass some of the HBA through. And then the people who contact me going, is there a way I can recover all these drives? I'm like, no, it's all corrupted. It's all gone. I don't know what caused it. I just know where the status you're at right now is. Yeah, you want to pass the HBA through, but even when you do, occasionally things go wrong. It's just you're adding more complexity. There was a bug so they found a while back in one of the hypervisors. I believe it was the Xen server one, and they fixed it. So now that bug stops that problem until there's another bug somewhere. It's just an added level of complexity I don't need in my life. But if you only have the budget for one single machine, then yeah, then it may be something that works for you. Just make sure you have a backup of everything. You mean, can a TrueNAS host replicate to a TrueNAS host B, which replicates, which turns C? So there isn't a load on A. Yeah, you can replicate to you can keep bouncing it down the road like that. You can replicate to one and replicate to another. That, yes, you can. But the replication doesn't have that much of a load on the server to do that. So I usually have one server and it may replicate to more than one location because replication is done at a differential rate. So it's only the data changes from the last time it did the replication. So it's usually not too much load at all on the server, I guess, but that's going to vary with your data run rate. Good network wide ad blocker. I probably would say I like PF Blocker and PF Sense, but network-wide ad blockers, the privacy things like running uBlock Origin inside your browser probably works better. So I have one system with too much RAM and too much CPU and need two very different NAS, one for bulk storage, one all flash for iSCSI. One TrueNAS or two TrueNAS VMs. Well, you can run inside of TrueNAS, you can build multiple pools. So you can group together your fast drives and group together your spinning Rust and create two separate pools. So you have two different designs essentially, where you have your really flash ones and you can share things off that. And you can have another pool of less than fast things that you can share. So this is absolutely supported when you're doing this. Is GPU CUDA pass-through possible with a Linux VM inside a TrueNAS core? I don't know. It's not there. They have limited amounts of pass-through ability in TrueNAS. It's just not the nature of what they do very well. It's the TrueNAS scale works better for pass-through, but TrueNAS scale has some of its own quirks because it's such a new product. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. Just be aware of some of the quirks that it has. That's the important part on there. But yeah, GPU pass-through, it does have the options for it. I've done no testing with it, and it's really low on my priority list because the VMs inside of TrueNAS, until scale gets a little bit further along, I might do some more testing with it later, but right now, not so much. How do you get around multiple Windows shares on TrueNAS not connecting simultaneously? I have a video where I talk about doing ACLs and permissions, but I don't know exactly what problem you're speaking of because I have on my TrueNAS. Let me log into it here. Here is my multiple Windows shares, computer sync, video production, and Tom's computer backup. 3 shares. They all connect perfectly fine to my computer and my Windows computer. So I'm not really having a problem with that. So I guess I don't understand the problem. That's probably best posted in the forums if you can articulate the problem a little better. Installing an SSL certificate on web server TrueNAS machine, will it take effect on WebDAV? I have never used the WebDAV on here, so I don't know. Let's look while we're logged in. Edit. Yeah, there's where you build the certificate. So yeah, if you install the certificate on here, it would choose it. So it does choose from the zoom in here. There's the certificates. So if we go over here to system and you look at the certificates, if you install one of these certificates, you could put a certificate here that would then show up there. So yes, you can do that in TrueNAS. Looks like it would work. I've never used the WebDAV on there. Never had a need for it. The things we use the most when it comes to doing this is going to be, actually go back over to services. I use iSCSI, rsync. Not on this one. On another one, I use S3. Matter of fact, let's go get to my other one. Because this one we're using for S3. Yep, there's my S3 storage. So if we go over here to storage, pools, how much do we have in S3? It's going to be in my backups. This is all my Synologies from different locations. So only about 2.8 terabytes of backups through S3 Synology. I've got a video where I talk about doing that. Hello and greetings from Portugal. Tom is right. Try the forums. We'll go with that. I encourage people all the time. I've talked about just how much time I spend in my own forums, the number of people we have there every day posting in the forums. So the forums is definitely, I got a few things I got to answer in there today. I just haven't had a chance, but I go in there at least daily. So, I keep this up to date. You can see there is, hold on, make sure I don't show anyone's address here just in case. Open up the admin panel. There we go. Yeah, I can show this. It doesn't have anyone's name. It just lets me know if there's anyone flagged in there as I moderate because spammers. But to give you an idea, when you're going through this, each day there are anonymous 3,000 people logged in, 756 users. So there is constantly people on a daily basis, several thousand visiting. And at any given moment, it looks like quite a few logged in, between 600 and on some busy days, like 1,000 people that have logins that are visiting here. So it's not just me answering questions. I've built up the community over the years to be a lot of people asking questions in my forums. So highly recommend it. I'll throw a link in here too for people who are unfamiliar with my forums. I don't think anyone by now is. I prefer to use NFS for XCP-NG, but it does support iSCSI as well. Thoughts on the VMware sale? Yeah, we were talking about the thoughts on the VMware sale earlier. We'll bring it up again because it's fun to read. I'll actually, let me just throw this article in there. Tell about VMware a long time ago. This is what their answer is. The rapid transition from perpetual license to subscription. So we already know where they're going with it. They plan to raise prices. And how much are they going to raise them? Well, VMware will add 8.5 billion, and they currently produce 4.7 billion. sounds like roughly they're going to double the price. So they're going to raise rates. And yeah, that's, I mean, it is. It's a closed source solution. They can do what they want with it. This is really stated here. Broadcom's strategy is very simple. Focus on 600 customers who will struggle to change suppliers, reap vastly their sales and marketing costs by focusing on that small pool, trim R&D, not thinking about the needs of our customers, who can be let go if necessary without much harm to our bottom line. This is another article from the Register. I shared these out earlier today, like on my LinkedIn and Twitter. So yeah, it's just one of those things. They're very clear on what their strategy is. Raise prices a lot, and don't focus on things that cost money. Hey, Tom, is your experience with point-to-point AP connections? We are buying land on a mountain CA. Want to set up a microwave connection with some kind of 1 gig up and down. The UniFi stuff works great for that. So highly recommend it. I've done a few videos on it. I have a video of how we shoot the data across the Detroit River. So absolutely, completely viable. There's really good solutions from UniFi for that. They're actually they make some great products in the point-to-point market. Well, problems pop up in Home Lab. It seems that you just learn to set up things. Sure, updates, break things, fix those things, different problems, it seems. Yeah, I mean, part of the learning experience of working in tech is you learn it doesn't just work. It's work that you have to do to keep it working, especially when updates and everything breaks things. So raise the price without features. Great for them. Yeah. I've read that the price of VMware might triple. Keep an eye on that. Wouldn't surprise me. How do you make more money? You raise prices. How do you make even more money than that? You raise them higher. As CUDA pasture is not certainly a Linux VM, is it worth getting a new Xeon or previous gen? Reviews are scarce for them. Looking into the 500 meg read write speeds. I don't have an answer for that. I'm also not the most well-read hardware expert on all the different processors. There's plenty of forums that are, though. Always important to be vendor agnostic as possible. Good tools to include Terraform, Ansible. Yes, building your platform so you're not married to a single vendor is critical if you care about the bottom line, because what happens is you're tied to some proprietary, especially cloud companies love to do this, get you tied into their proprietary ecosystem. That way, as they raise prices or make changes, they know you can't leave, or at least not easily, not without lots of refactoring and retooling. So yeah, that's the thing. Good. Did this video finish? That's what I'm looking at now. I was re-rendering this in the background while everything else is going. So is the video the right length now? Because I accidentally didn't put out the full length of the video. Yes. So now we can upload the video properly. And I think we can upload it while I'm doing the stream. Let's see how that works. How's the new servers? Going well. They ZFS is all set up. Actually, that's what I was playing with earlier with some of the things. And do we have anything running on it right now? Probably not. Because the NVMEs I have set up in here, this is the Lab R630 NVMEs, type ZFS. And I need to do a video probably dedicated to, so people have a better understanding of how ZFS works inside of XCP-NG. It is supported, maybe or maybe not, in the way people want it, or understand it, I should say, not want it. Because that is a, let's see. Let that upload. See if it breaks my stream while it uploads. So why hire another person when you can just pay AWS a few more million per month? Yeah. Azure AWS, love to get you use their services. Azure AD. Yep. Does Xen Orchestra support white labeling? I don't think so. I've never thought of a way to white label it, but I don't know why you would either. Maybe I don't understand the use case for that. XCP-NG ZFS is still weird. It's still VHDs on top of ZFS, not ZVals like Proxmox. That's correct. That's one of the things that Proxmox does have is a tighter integration with ZFS because the way they're doing it differently. But if I'm not mistaken, I've only had people tell me this and I haven't really dug in to verify it, but XCP-NG, not actually, Proxmox, when it sets up ZFS, the snapshots you do are ZFS level snapshots. They are not that way in XCP-NG. You can do ZFS snapshots, but you're manually doing ZFS snapshots. So something to think about there. Or if a cloud company goes under, it takes your boat with it. They usually don't go under. I'll say that much too. I don't have one yet. I'm working on a video on an updated one because I'm working on a list of all the different current market of UniFi access points. So that video is coming soon. Does the Netgate 6100 have a cell failover? Not built in. So that is not something native to it. Do you have a go-to VPN solution that supports MFA? Banging my head against the OpenVPN, trying to figure out what I'm missing with their solutions. Technically, OpenVPN is multi-factor because you have to have the certificate along with the username and password. So those are multiple factors of authentication. But the problem is if you're trying to implement it via Netgate at this time, as in pfSense, Netgate's the people that build the pfSense project, they do not have the TOTP implementation of OpenVPN. The only other firewall that we support that does have it that I've seen is the Untangle. So Untangle has OpenVPN with TOTP. So you have the certificates, you have the user and password, then you have TOTP. So technically you have 4 pieces of things you need in order to get the VPN working. Ever played with Netgate TNSR? Nope, I have not, and it's not really on my roadmap to use it right now. How do you add sysprep to creating a template in XCP-NG? Well, you sysprep the machine, you shut it down, and you make it a template. There's no secret to that. It's just you sysprep, and then you say, "This is my template that I clone things off of." Let's talk about how you clone things, so because that's maybe the question you want to know. So here is this right here. Let's pretend. Matter of fact, I think I have one called template. Hey, look, I do. Ubuntu lab server template. How do we make another copy of this? We hit fast clone. And now we got a copy of it. Or I could hit copy if I wanted to name it. And I could hit name _ copy. But if we did this, hey, look, there's the clone. All right, we started this clone. So this is the lab clone 1. All right, we've named that one and started it up. Let's make another one. Go over here and we'll just hit the fast clone again. All right, we'll start it. And this is now, we'll call it clone 2. So if I would have, what you do though is I would have sysprepped this one in the Windows world. You don't have to sysprep a Linux, but in the Windows world, you would have sysprepped this. And but there's my 2 clones running. So here's the first one. I'm sure it's booted and running now. Almost. There you go. There's really nothing to making these templates and building them. Yep, that's booted. Clone 2, is clone 2 ready? Probably. Almost. It's going to flicker here in a second and be ready. There we go. Now this one's booted and ready. So now I've got 2 more Linux VMs to start experimenting with. It's really a simple system to be able to do this. And add a server into domain. It's just setting up Windows and setting up all the Windows deployment services to join a domain automatically. That's a Windows domain question, not really a XCP-NG question. Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. Yes, that's that would be the way to do it. It's about learning the Microsoft tools. they're not exactly relevant to the XCP-NG. Does a Netgate does Netgate have site capability of looking up a network to another state? Yes, you can use WireGuard to NPF Sense to do a site-to-site VPN. I even have a video on that topic. You will need to have deployment services and use Windows Server for that. That's another thing too. You can set up a Windows deployment server and then build things off of a network boot. By the way you can do that in XCP-NG, build your server, which by the way, somewhere in here, we have a Windows server. It's currently off. This is one of our lab servers, our ADHD server. You boot this server up right here. Actually, wow, it's been off for a minute. But I boot this server up right here. Then I can run the PXE boot, which if you go into the advanced and you look at network boot, you just drag the network booting to the top and enable it. And then you build VMs that's network boot, and they can pull from that server and do the Windows deployment and deploy your network. So it's absolutely something you can do all within XCP-NG. This is why it's so important to have a home lab that can do all of these fun things, or a virtualization server like XCP-NG to deploy them all on. And what does this do if I do this? Oops. What I need is not this network. I need to log into it because that console is too ugly to use. And how do I share just this in a meaningful way? I know how to share things in here. Stop sharing. Share. Window. There we go. So this is that VM that's running in here. Actually, let me make it a little bit so it fills the screen a little bit better. Give it something to do. Oh, I didn't have much to do. No such directory. I have to edit that later and fix it. See what else you have in here. I wish you had time. I barely had time to stream. Currently working 800 hours a week and have 3 43-hour days in the last. Yeah, that I can't help you with. Oh, EA. Yeah, I can't talk about the stuff in the EA for UniFi. Do you know if the BH class VMs import in there, or does this fit to work? What is a BHIS class? I don't know what that is. Export from VMware, import to XCP-NG. You should be able to export. They do have in XCP-NG the ability to import OVA files. So you should be able to import things that are OVA. There we go. Do you use the paid version? Yes, we do, but not for my videos. And there's a reason. The reason I don't is because I always want to make people realize that I'm using the community version. The reason for this is because I want to make sure this is accessible to you, person who may not have any money to buy a license. So I do all my demos, all my videos, unless they're specific about the paid version. I always make sure all of the tools and demo, like my restore demo I did the other day, and everything is all done with the free, you can compile it yourself version. It's me making sure that you understand that this is accessible for you. If you want to build your lab out of it, you want to build it in your home lab or test it out, that these are all accessible features for free. And if you're a business and like paid support, that is an option. I always come from that angle on it. So that's why even everything I'm showing you right here is all done in the free version. Well, the compiled version. The support's better than good. It's great. So yeah, they have really solid support. So if you want to buy support from them, absolutely you can. So it's definitely something, and it's one of the reasons a lot of people like it is the fact that they have commercial support features. In my video that I'm uploading right now, that's one of the things I talk about is that aspect of it. Yes, I finished the question. Do I need these VMs? We can probably just stop them, remove them. It's kind of neat though how all of this works in here is it's all just done through a web interface. You spin it all up. You can run all your tests, build all your VMs. You can even migrate your VM somewhere else. So this is on shared storage. This is on this particular server now. Actually, go over to this host. How much free RAM do we have here? 17 gigs free because we're running a lot of things on this. So, all right, what if we want to move it? How quick can we migrate this? So it's on this server right here. Let's do a migration. Let's just bounce it over here. Hit OK. All right. Here goes a live VM migration, not shutting it down, not rebooting it, just live migrating it. And 78654, and it's done. Now it's on the other server. That's confirming. It does a little check something. But if we go back over to it now, hey, look, it's on the other server now. The migrations work really nice inside of here if you have hardware that can support it and move things around. And now when we click on this, 16 gigs free, or 14 gigs, more things got spun up on this. Was that a 2 gig VM? Oh, 4 gigs. So something actually must have moved, but nonetheless, you can see how quick it can move things back and forth here. And we can move it back because let's go here. I have a demo where I show that the migration, I did a free PBX system while you're making phone calls. I can migrate the servers live. So we'll just kick off something running on here like HTOP. So here it is running on this server here, and let's just migrate it over back to the other network. Hit OK. So, this is doing its thing here, and it's going to kick off that migration again the other way. As long as you buy 2 of the same systems, you're fine with doing HA. So high availability works, but it really, really is recommended to work properly that they are 2 identical machines. So if you get one 6100, buy another one later, and no problem, you can do HA on it. So, do you think knowledge about shared storage is more usable than clustered storage? I don't understand the question you're asking. Maybe some clarification on that. So not really sure. But the VM surely is over on the other place. Now we've moved it over. It's on Xenifer R720. And we can go back to the console. Nothing restarted. It's still running here. Yeah, the migration stuff works so smooth in VMware, or not VMware. It does work in VMware well. I don't think VMware is a bad product in terms of its ability to migrate, but it works really well also in Xen Orchestra. And that's, kind of what the topic is here, talking about migrations and looking at different systems. You can have mixed CPUs. The CPU flags will be are those supported across the entire cluster. But But let's talk about the exception. And I'm not going to break something because I don't feel like fixing it. But the big but comes in when you look at this one right here. So this is running on an R630, and it's in the lab pool. The lab pool has 2 servers in it. One of them's a Ryzen and one of them's not. It's a Intel base. So this one's running an Intel Xeon, and the other one in the pool is running a Ryzen. So the problem you're going to run into is if you're running a Ryzen, here we go, AMD Ryzen 5, is it will let you, kind of, it'll let me migrate to the Ryzen, but it's going to fail. And it's going to fail and lock up and crash the VM. So when you're dealing with multiple CPUs and the resource pool will downgrade the CPUs to the lowest common denominator so you can live migrate them. But that's not true when you mix them in different Ryzen and Intels. Yes, they can work in the same pool together, the same resource pool. No, the live migration does not work. That will cause you a big headache. The solution for that is this. So here we're going to stop it. So we stopped it on this pool here. We're going to go start on, and then we're going to go ahead and start it on the Ryzen. And hit OK. We can start and stop it and now have it on another one because the shared resource pool allows that. But you can't do it. You're not allowed to do this in real time. You can't just transfer them across from each other like that when you have mixed processors. So yes. Knowing how shared storage works seems to be more practical. Clustered storage, self-storage seems to be less widespread in smaller environments. Well, it's not only less widespread, it's not always needed. And the guys at 45 Drives, I think they have a video talking about it, why Ceph, even though they sell a lot of Ceph solutions, is not always the right solutions. And there's some challenges when you start doing clustered storage because clustering the storage does not automatically mean, matter of fact, it may mean the opposite for you. You may get less performance out of it because of the extra layers the cluster may add. Doesn't mean you can't buy more hardware to overcome it, but is that the goal? It depends on the use case, and especially smaller environments. No, you're not likely to see Ceph deployed. It's not necessary in all the environments either. People always get overexcited about these really like, cool, I can do this clustered storage. And I'm like, well, how are you going to replicate the performance across there? And you're like, oh, I just reshared out Wendell's video on XCP-NG, and he talks about that in his video about what happens when you have a synchronized solution. It has to reduce its speed in IOPS to as fast as it can sync between the nodes to have certain functions like that work. So you have to either A, get faster interconnect between the nodes to get the synchronization, or B, live with less performance than you would get with an individual node. So these are really important things to think about when you're designing storage. Yeah, that's that's the kind of the in a nutshell with some of the Ceph and clustering things that are on there. Hopefully that makes some sense. What else did we want to talk about before I wind it down? Any final questions before I wind the live stream down? Smash the like button. There's at least a request, but hopefully I answered some of your XCP-NG questions, talked about my lab. Go to the overview. Here's all the things in our lab. Someone had asked me about this. I haven't done a tour of our lab in a while. I don't know that those are the most interesting videos because it's not that interesting of a setup, really. I've seen home users with more advanced setups than I have frequently on my forums and Twitter. So ours is kind of boring, and mostly because we're business use. We're just labbing things out all the time for all the stuff's in there. We do run inside of here as well, like Graylog and Bitwarden and Jumpbox and this silly thing called Tunnel Bear, which is a PF Sense system one of my staff came up with. So Yeah, we have a few things running in here, but I don't know how much of it is that exciting overall. So, hot sauce review. Um, Nothing new lately. I haven't had anything new. I keep eating the same hot sauces, so I kind of get the ones I like, and I keep sticking with them. Trying to test out UAD feature. I'm waiting for my workspace to be approved. It isn't supposed to be on UC. Oh, it isn't supported on UDM SE. Good thing I have a test UDM proling around. Pizza, possibly. My son is actually at my office doing stuff. Off topic. I wish CrowdStrike is coming PF like we did with OpenSense. I don't think you mean CrowdStrike. All right. What else was there here? Oh, you'd ask for a tour. I have all the software we run on there. CrowdSec. That's what I figured you meant. Got more people. No problem. Just making sure I'm on the right, because maybe I'm wrong. And someone's like, oh no, CrowdStrike has that. It'll be interesting. They're working on an integration for it. It just takes time to get that kind of stuff done. So interesting. But I'm going to get to finishing uploading and detailing out that VMware versus that video. So I have a nice, concise 10-minute video, not an hour and 10-minute babble of Tom talking about stuff. So let's see, what do we have here? I've answered all the questions, but yeah, the VMware XCP-NG replacement video will be uploaded sometime today. Whenever YouTube's done processing said video, it'll be published. And so we can talk about some of those details, because I know a lot of people are looking for some VMware alternatives about now. But thanks everyone for joining. Awesome having all of you here. See you next Thursday, and have a great time. Oh, if anyone's going to be at IT Nation Secure, I will be there too. So I don't know how many of you that watch this will also be there or watch all the way to the end of the live stream, but I will be at IT Nation Secure 2022. That'll be next week. Thanks and have a great day.